geopolitics. Israel and the United States launch attacks on Iran, deposing the Ayatollah, and in the last few minutes, confirmation of Mojtaba Khamenei's, the second eldest child of Ali Khamenei, eliminated in an attack alongside his father. You can hear that reaction from our live studio audience. This is absolutely huge news. Iranian women are rejoicing in the streets, shedding their hijabs and burqas in defiance of the Islamic Republic. We'll be chatting to Kelly J. Keane on this. But here in the UK, right outside Parliament in Westminster, hundreds and thousands actually gathered for the... oh, no, that's a different protest. I was at this one. Not this one, by the way. It stopped the war demonstration to condemn the bombing of Tehran and other Iranian targets. Insane. We'll also be crossing to Israel to get a sense of the situation on the ground and how Israelis are reacting. But first, the news with Bethany Elsie.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 7:01. Joint military action by the US and Israel against Iran has continued today, with Donald Trump saying the operations are ahead of schedule. Operation Epic Fury began more than 36 hours ago, with the US president claiming 48 Iranian leaders have been killed, 9 naval ships sunk, and stealth bombers have targeted dozens of underground missile sites. Israel's defense force says it's dropped over 2,000 bombs and is preparing to deploy around 100,000 reservists. In the last half an hour, the British Ministry of Defence says an RAF jet has taken out an Iranian drone headed towards Qatari territory. 3 US service members have been killed and 5 others seriously injured since the attacks began. And the Red Crescent claims that around 200 Iranians have been killed. President Donald Trump says the new Iranian leaders want to talk and that he's agreed to do so. Meanwhile, Iran has retaliated with a barrage of missiles across the Middle East. Its military claims to have hit 3 US and UK oil tankers in the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. It's also continued to strike Israel, where at least 9 people have been killed and dozens injured in the city of Beit Shemesh. It's understood the UK Foreign Office is supporting hundreds of thousands of British nationals in the Gulf and are working on plans for potential evacuations. More than 76,000 people, mostly in the UAE, have registered their presence. In other news, the FBI are investigating a deadly shooting in Texas as a potential act of terrorism. 3 people have been killed and 14 injured, with 3 of those in a critical condition. Officers say the gunman opened fire out of his car window into a bar on a busy high street. He was later shot dead by police. And Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has set out proposals to amend the voting system. It's after his party came second in the recent by-election in Gorton and Denton. He says reform would remove voting rights from Commonwealth citizens and place significant restrictions on postal voting, so only elderly, disabled, serving armed forces personnel and those working overseas during an election could take part. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 8 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Special edition of Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. It's been over 24 hours now since the US and Israel launched their joint strikes against the Iranian regime, which has resulted in the death of the Ayatollah and dozens of other senior officials. And breaking in the last few moments, Iranian media has claimed that Mojtaba Khamenei, son of deceased Ayatollah Khamenei, was killed with his father in yesterday's Israeli strike. After the supreme leader's death was confirmed, Mojtaba Khamenei was seen as a possible successor to his father. We are still awaiting independent verification of those claims. Iran has unleashed a wave of missile and drone attacks across the region, striking American allies and US military targets in Dubai, Doha, Manami and Kuwait City. Earlier today, 3 US service members were confirmed killed and 5 seriously wounded as part of Trump's military action against Iran. US Central Command said in the first confirmation of American casualties. It comes as President Donald Trump has claimed US forces have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval vessels, including what he described as several large and significant ships. Last night, scenes of jubilation filled the streets of Tehran after an end to the reign of the man who has ruled Iran with an iron fist for decades. Well, we're going to get the latest now from GB News reporter Charlie Peters.
Let's start with the latest news as it relates to the United Kingdom, Josh, because 76,000 British nationals have registered their place inside the region today. That's what we're hearing from the Foreign Office, majority of those in the UAE. And it comes as the Foreign Office, working with the Ministry of Defence, is considering all manner of plans as a potential evacuation route for those British nationals. And the pictures you're seeing on your screen are the latest we've had from the IDF as they continue their airstrikes in Iran. They've said they've now dropped over 2,000 munitions, over 700 sorties have been involved in those strikes, and that comes amid the RAF's first defensive involvement in Qatar today, with a fighter jet, Typhoon, intercepting an Iranian drone that was heading towards the area of Qatar, where there is a joint UK-US airbase. So the RAF acting in a defensive posture today. We've also had an update from Iraqi media. That's fresh pictures of Iraq there, with several Shiite and Iranian-linked paramilitary fighters being killed in airstrikes as operations continue throughout the region. We can also bring you an update from CENTCOM, the US Central Command, that is the area that covers the Middle East and West Asia. They flew 4 B-2 bombers from the US and dropped dozens of 2,000-pound bombs in underground ballistic missile sites. The pictures on your screen now are of those bombers departing from the continental United States, repeating a mission they conducted in June of last year for those strikes, those bunker-busting bombs landing on the Iranian nuclear facility. So 2,000 munitions, 700 sorties, and just in the last few moments, Josh, we've had more footage sent in to us by the Israeli Air Force. They've completed what they said are dozens of strikes against the Iranian terror regime's ballistic missile array and defence systems. They said this is a continuation of Operation Roaring Lion. It's being done in order to minimise fire towards the state of Israel and also to continue to degrade the Iranian terrorist regime's ballistic missile array. They said there's been over 30 strikes against that missile array system and also those aerial defence systems. And Josh, to close out, I'll finish with the update that you brought there as well, that Khamenei's son, Mujtaba Khamenei, seen by many in Iran as the more influential of his sons, and indeed one of his potential successors, has reportedly been eliminated, according to Iranian media. This is of great significance because the major risks could be significantly lowered here. Power could now pass to a new part of the Iranian network that has an opportunity now to deviate away from the Ayatollah's policy in a way that Mujtaba would not have done. And we have heard from Ali Larijani, who is Iran's top national security official. He's announced that an interim committee would run the country while they seek a successor. He's committed to hitting back against Israeli and American targets with, quote, a force they have never experienced before. With the Ayatollah's son dead and this interim committee being formed, who would want to be an Iranian commander now? Earlier today, President Trump said that 48 leaders have been killed since the start of that operation, a figure that is set to rise amid ongoing airstrikes. Speaking of which, this is now live pictures we can bring you of Tel Aviv. It was reported in the last hour or so, Josh, that there has been a fresh set of missile strikes sent in from Iran towards northern Israel and also central Israel. Being told now that there was a strike just intercepted We've just missed that, but we'll bring you a replay of that shortly. So the Iron Dome defensive system intercepting those strikes as we speak now.
Thank you very much, Charlie, for that. Well, joining me now here in the studio, we have the Iranian activist, Nihat Ghorbrani, and the Iranian British human rights activist, Lily Mu. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for our two guests here who have been at the very forefront of raising awareness of what has been going on in Iran under the regime, and now hopefully with the freedom of the Iranian people. We're seeing now some live footage, I believe, from Tel Aviv. What I have understood is people who have died over the last 24 hours. Nihat, how do you feel about Israel's involvement? Because I think what a lot of people don't understand is how closely connected the Iranian people are with the Israeli people. Because I think a lot of people who don't understand what's going on in the region are shocked when they see the real Iranian flag flying alongside the Israeli flag.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And I feel I'm happiest man in the world after, you know, after Khamenei get killed and all the official, actually top official of the Islamic Republic, which is they killed around 50 days ago more than 80,000 Iranian freedom fighter. I'm really happy about that. I'm feeling really happy. And about the, you know, Israeli, the Jewish actually community here in UK, also in Israel and in Iran, they show real, you know, solidarity that was between the Iranians long time ago, more than 2,000 years. But now we are, you know, again, we gave the life again to this connection between us. I was last night in Golders Green, we celebrating Ayatollah's death. And I feel, you know, I feel the joy between the Iranians and Jew in Golders Green is exactly in same level. And this is, we are the family, we are same family. We long time history we was together, but the Ayatollah for 48 years, they trying hard to separating us. They're trying hard to separate Iranian people with the actually British people also. That to UK also always every Friday in praying they did that. As a child, I was in school. I did that as also. But you know, when you're growing up, you see what's going on. You know, the Ayatollahs always spreading hate to the nation, to hate everyone.
Well, that's it. And now, of course, he's dead. And as you were talking about, I mean, Lily Mu, I was in Finchley. I was just down the road from where you guys were, and as you're saying this, the joy. And today you organised a large celebration in central London outside Whitehall. But the news that's just come in about the Ayatollah's son, that's big news. I don't know if people can really appreciate how large that news is, right?
So, well, like Nihat was saying, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was known in the Middle East as the Hitler of the Middle East, and he's had enough blood on his hands to be able to wash the earth a few times over. And his son is exactly one of the biggest instigators of his will over the past many decades in Iran, especially that this frail old Ayatollah, who was a grumpy old man who hated the life on earth and all humanity and just wanted to spread hate, couldn't have managed all of his toxic, evil acts against and terrorism against Iranian people and the region without the will and support of his son. And on top of that, there was always this fear that even if the Ayatollah is eliminated by either the Iranian people or by foreign interventions in acts of rescue of the Iranian people, such as the one we see right now at the incredible will and hands of the Americans. Our Iranians' allies are the Americans and the Israelis today. And Iranian people will never forget this truth. For the past 47 years in Iran, in schools, from schools to marketplaces to the streets of Iran, the Ayatollah has painted pictures of death, bloodshed, and terrorism, slogans of Islamic terrorism, jihadism, around the entire beautiful country of Iran. And today, this man is no more. And today, we celebrated. We are overjoyed. It's not that Iranians are happy at the sound of death because we've been chanting
So
death
I think
to
we can
America.
say, just on the screen there, I think we're seeing some missiles, we're seeing the drones, we're seeing the Israeli defense systems coming up. There are people in Israel right now who are with their families, they're in bunkers. Those bunkers have been, we saw terrible footage, have been hit. Civilians have died. And we also, of course, see the remnants of the regime targeting civilians, civilian populations.
Yes, I actually have something to say about that.
Please.
And one thing, just like Niak also mentioned earlier.
This is Jerusalem that we're looking at here.
One of the most heartfelt and soul-vigorating messages that we received from the world during the time of despair we've been experiencing at the hands of this regime was the messages coming from Israel, where pregnant women were packing their bags, getting ready to go to the shelters, and they said, we are willing to endure war if it means our brothers and sisters for 2,500 years will be finally free. So Iranian people are praying that the missiles fail and do not reach Jerusalem. Iranian people inside Iran are calling out and saying, Am Israel Chai, at the hands of a regime that could kill them for saying that beautiful sentence out loud. So we are all worried for our brothers and sisters in Israel. We are all worried for our brothers and sisters in the whole of Middle East who are getting targeted at the hands of this murderous regime. And we are hoping that IDF's might, capabilities, and expertise will destroy IRGC and all of their might soon enough before the next missile is going to be thrown or targeted anywhere outside of Iran.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, this regime doesn't only target our neighbors and our beautiful brothers and sisters in Israel. They also target civilians in Iran. Before any war opened in Iran during these modern days, 4 or 5 years ago, even during Massa Revolution, they tested their ballistic missiles in areas that hit.
This is Tel Aviv. There's people can see the specks of light there. Those are missiles and I imagine the Iron Dome shooting them down, hopefully.
Hopefully, indeed. I do believe in the might of the Iron Dome. I have been to Israel 4 times. I've had the pleasure of visiting that wonderful land and hugging the people, eating the food. I know what it's like to suddenly have to run in the shelter. It's unpleasant, but the unity and the act of protection in place is incredibly inspiring. And the instant act of solidarity that keeps on happening amongst the people is unseen anywhere else.
There we go. Oh, this is a replay. I mean, Niak, people risking their lives, they obviously are doing it partly out of self-interest because they know that the best chance for Israel, the best chance for all peace in the region, and so that there isn't the need for every Israeli to serve in the IDF. And this is a price that Israelis are obviously willing to pay. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be a price, and I'm not talking about boots on the ground from the UK, but just it seems like even from our government, we were standing together in front of Number 10 just a few hours ago, pleading with our government to take a stand, just a verbal stand. We're not talking about people risking their lives. Why do you think that Sir Keir Starmer's government hasn't taken this moral stand with the Iranian people?
Simple. They're scared.
Scared of what?
They're scared of the IRGC members who lives here in UK. They're scared of the terror, actually the group terror of the IRGC who made long time, for 48 years. After, the revolution happened in Iran, 1979, they start sending they have already here.
They've exported all the way here.
They have already lots of members who supporting Khomeini.
I've heard people say the UK is the second base.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
The Iranians, to be honest, I'm talking about the government. I'm not talking about
the Iranian people, the
British nation.
Yes.
I just talking about the government. Iranians inside Iran, they call government the father of Ayatollah Khomeini and father of Islamic Republic. Always when something, uprising happen in Iran, always the Iranians waiting for the reaction of the government of UK. They always saying when UK government wants, regime change going to be happen. Still, right now, doesn't happen.
Still not taking a cab.
Exactly.
Well, look, you guys are going to be joining us later on through the show. Thank you so much for joining us for this section. Next on Free Speech Nation, women take to the streets in Tehran and across Iran as they celebrate a hope for new freedoms. See you in a couple of minutes.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. We've got some latest news now from GB News reporter Charlie Peters.
We're hearing from US CENTCOM that they have targeted and destroyed the IRGC headquarters. That update just coming into us now. That's a claim that the US military has made. They've also provided an update on areas that the Iranian regime has targeted, and they've included in that list several locations in Dubai and Iraq, but also Erbil International Airport in Kurdistan in Iraq. And we can bring you some pictures now of some of the reported destruction in Erbil. This is the footage. I know it says Tehran, but that's actually obviously off the coast of Iran. And this is the footage in Erbil, Iraq. This is said to be destruction of a US military ammunition depot, according to local media. This just being reported in the last hour. We are seeking more confirmation of that, but I can tell you that in the last day or so, there have been intercepted strikes on munitions towards that location. More footage we bring you now of that reported impact in Erbil in Kurdistan. Now, of course, while Britain is not participating in this attack, several British personnel are forward deployed in Qatar, also in Bahrain. They were metres away from a drone that successfully struck the Bahraini facility yesterday. And there were also, it was a bit of a close call yesterday with British troops deployed in Iraq, close to where we're seeing on your screens now, where they're conducting counter-ISIS operations. So we'll wait for confirmation from the MOD and also more from US CENTCOM on the state of Western forces in Erbil as a consequence of this strike that you're seeing on your screens now. And in terms of more British involvement that we've had updated to us today, Josh, we know that the RAF jets in Qatar intercepted a drone fired towards Qatar, and that also other jets, Typhoons flying out of Akrotiri in Cyprus, have been used to shoot down drones and also slower-moving cruise missiles. British assets in the region can't shoot down the fast-flying ballistic missiles, but what we're seeing on your screen now, reported destruction in Erbil, Iraq, significant Western counter-ISIS base. We're looking for more details on that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Charlie. Now, last night, women took to the streets of Iran, ridding themselves of their hijabs and burqas after years of Islamic oppression under the Ayatollah. Joining me now is women's rights activist Kelly J. Keane. Welcome to the show. You are someone who has spent years now fighting for women. What's it like seeing that footage on the other side of the world and women who are now free to show their hair, to express themselves?
It's really quite moving. You know, I haven't just witnessed them on the TV. I spoke to a lot of women today, and it's quite difficult to describe because I don't think we can fully understand how that at all feels, and maybe some of the Iranian women who live here can't fully talk about how it feels to be under such oppression, but they were just very emotional, really excited.
We can see some footage and the joy. You were at the... you were in front of Whitehall earlier today. What was your sense of the emotion that was in the air?
I just saw so many people walking, and then they were just, as they were saying things both in Persian and in English, they were closing their eyes, and you know, it's a sight to witness, and I think everybody should try and at least go and talk to somebody who now feels liberated. Now this regime hopefully is very near its end.
Well, there's an irony, of course, that as freedom can come to the women of Iran, in the UK we see more and more women who are being Islamized, frankly, wearing the full burqa.
Yeah.
They say through choice. Some others would say through coercion.
Yes.
It could be at a point where there are going to be more people in the UK wearing hijabs than in Iran.
Yes, I think we should be very afraid. And I think what most women should do, particularly the likes of Hannah Spencer, who I heard and gave a minute's silence for the death of the regime, I think she joined some sort of vigil.
She would say she's a feminist, I imagine.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's a joke, and she didn't really do that, and it's some sort of parody. But I think that probably would be something that she might do. And I think these women need to look at 1978 Iran, and they need to start understanding that the left joining with Islam is a recipe for hell in this country. And I think we are stepping towards that quite rapidly.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, you made an AI video this week. It's incredible what you did. I mean, it looked like a real Disney film, and you did it, I understand, in half a day. And well, look, tell us about that, because it's very powerful, and it's a real wake-up call, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, myself and my good partner AI, we got our heads together, and I came up with the words, and it's really about it's a Disney song that would be like well placed at the beginning of Moana. It's that sort of big tune.
Liberation.
Yeah,
of
it's
a young
all
woman
like,
finding her power.
Yeah, it's all real joyful, hurtling into wearing the burqa and Christianity being sort of a thing of the past, and us all being infidels and being completely enslaved by, in my view, an evil death cult. And I think the view of many sensible people. I often say that Islamophobia is just an acknowledgement of what Islam actually can do once it gains power. And so it's wonderful. You should go and watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, I have seen it. It's very funny as well. But like I said, it may well be a wake-up call for some people. Obviously, look, we're here in the UK. We're talking about events on the other side of the world. Do you get a sense that, because there's many other people I've spoken to, Israelis and Iranians, and that this could be a very positive thing for the world?
I don't think that's in any question, is it?
Well, I think for some people it is, unfortunately. And for some people who are actually standing very close to where we were today, just down the road, they were standing and they were protesting for the Iranian regime. And this includes UK high-profile politicians.
I just feel it's a bit like the whole trans debate. Like, people don't...
I'm not familiar with
that. But we know that, like, people parrot some women have a penis. And I think those same people, they seem to go hand in hand with the sort of people that talk about Islamophobia and, will be on the side of the regime, and that what we've done or what America's done, and I feel it's we.
Unfortunately, it's not we. I mean, it's any right-thinking people who believe in freedom for the Iranian people, but unfortunately, it's not the British people. Unfortunately, we weren't able to be there as a moral beacon to the world, as we have been many times in the past.
Yeah, well, Keir was worried about the communiques. That's what he said in his speech. Like, he's such a non-entity. He's such an embarrassment for this country. But what was great today is there were many Iranians who were like, we will remember that we were not supported. I was like, well, I hope you know that that's our government and some morons that happen to have a microphone. But for most of us, we are absolutely on the side of the people of Iran, and we see them as like quite like an amazing, very old culture that has been robbed of 47 years of freedom.
Absolutely, yes. And as your video makes out, really a warning to the UK.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to take for some people to understand just how dangerous this place is right now. Yeah. We had people attacked in Whitechapel, which is somewhere that I'm going to be going on the 27th of June with some women to say, well, actually, no, this is part of the UK. We will be here and we will be here safely. And if you want to come and have a go, I won't finish that sentence.
No, but that's it. You have Christian preachers. We saw that incredible footage of that policewoman, a policeperson, excuse me, a policewoman, police adult human female, taking a stand for free speech in this country, and it was so incredibly refreshing to see. And they were like, well, this is where we live. These men were like genuinely offended that there was someone spreading ideas that they didn't like, and I'm being offended. Well, good. That welcome to the UK.
Yes. But they are very organised, so we have to get organised.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you very much. Big round of applause. Women's rights activist Kelly J. Keane. Next on Free Speech Nation, as thousands celebrate freedom in Iran, back in Britain, pro-Iranian protesters take to the streets of London, including a high-ranking member of the Greens. See you in a couple of minutes.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It remains fairly unsettled across western parts of Europe, the risk of rain at times, but further east, some pleasant spells of sunshine. So for Monday, a weather front giving cloud and outbreaks of rain across Madeira into western parts of Portugal, showers for Spain across into the Alps as well, but further east towards Greece and Turkey, it's dry with some pleasant spells of sunshine and generally light winds, and it remains very similar over the next few days. Plenty of sunshine to come.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into next week, we have high pressure building. We'll see a mix of cloud and also some sunshine, but it's certainly going to be feeling more like spring, particularly if you compare it to the weather we've had today. And the reason for the unsettled spell to end the weekend, it's all thanks to low pressure, swinging in some wind and rain, and that does mean quite an unsettled end to the day, particularly across Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England. We have some very brisk winds moving through this evening up along the Irish Sea, a risk of coastal gales here. But to the south of any rain, it should remain mostly dry. Once again, a mix of cloud, also some clearer skies, but with the added breeze, this should hold temperatures up, so largely frost-free as we head our way into Monday. For the beginning of the new week, though, quite a wet start across Scotland. That's away from the far north. A few more clearer skies here, but a few showers skipping through at times. Largely wet across much of Scotland. Still some quite brisk winds around western coasts. Most of the rain clearing Northern Ireland, so turning a little bit brighter through the morning here. And then we do have this front draped across western areas of the UK, and it's fairly slow moving, so it'll try to edge its way eastwards at times, but it does mean that for most across southern Scotland, northern England, parts of Wales and parts of Cornwall as well, it's probably going to be quite a wet Monday on offer. But to the south of this, largely dry, plenty of clear skies, so lots of sunshine to go around, and some warmer temperatures too, so feeling more like spring, particularly across the southeast. Some brighter spells too across Northern Ireland, western Scotland, though we can't rule out some showers here at times into the afternoon. Now, clear skies overnight means we could see some frost across Scotland, Northern Ireland to start, but many areas should see a bright start to the day. A few showers perhaps lingering around coasts of Wales. We do have this band of cloud, and at times this will bring in some drizzle across parts of East Anglia, southern parts of England later on into the day. But for most, it should be a dry day with some sunshine, and that theme continues into next week, along with the warmer temperatures. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to a special edition of Free Speech Nation. Last night, in their thousands, Iranians took to the streets to celebrate the death of the Ayatollah. But here in London, right outside Parliament in Westminster, hundreds gathered for a Stop the War demonstration to condemn the bombing of Tehran and other Iranian targets. The protesters held placards showing a portrait of Ayatollah Khamenei and shouted the slogan, "Choose the right side of history," along with signs saying "Stop Trump's wars" and "No war on Iran," including among those protesting was the Green deputy leader Mohsin Ali. Joining me now is the former deputy leader of the Green Party of England and Wales, Shahrar Ali. Welcome to the show. What's it like to see your replacement, you had that job,
yes,
standing there under the flag of the Iranian regime that only weeks ago murdered tens of thousands of their civilians?
Well, look, as you've rightly put it, right, it gives me no pride, in fact, it gives me shame to see a deputy leader in that role in a burgeoning Green Party show such poor judgment. There's absolutely no excuse for it. It's a no-brainer, actually. Instead of allying himself with Stop the War, and I've been on their demonstrations over the years, you need to look, as a politician, at the branding and you need to look at the political positioning. This was a grave mistake. And
this is not Iraq, by the way. I think a lot of people are making this distinction, or making this assumption.
Yeah.
Going, oh, this is 20 years.
And Mohsin is doubling down, as he has on past anti-Semitic episodes. He's doubling down on his presence at the Stop the War yesterday. Now, I understand the anti-war sentiment. I understand that. There should be a very high threshold on military action and military intervention anywhere. But guess what? The Green Party's own policy, and I used to be an international spokesperson, IR 332, it does advocate for military intervention where there are gross human rights abuses on a very high threshold, with war and military intervention being a last resort. And that's where we are. The Green Party, as most credible political parties, they're not pacifists. There is such a thing as self-defence, and there is such a thing as military intervention. Now, it's been said, and I can understand the hesitation, right, and the torment around the fact that, do we have, for example, a UN resolution? Do we have, even in Iraq, it was very controversial because some people argued that, you know, the actual trigger hadn't been reached. But the fact is, you can talk about the canon of international law, important though that is, because if you break it and breach it, you open yourself up to all kinds of problems in other areas of the world. I get that, I understand that. But in reality, what's happened is the UN has been slow, completely impotent to act. They should have called this out. They should have intervened.
I think the EU are having a meeting tomorrow, so that's
absolutely too late in the day. So what the Green Party has become a virtue signalling, flag-bearing. I mean, in Gorton, it was not the British flag, of course, it was the Palestinian flag. So what's happening here is we're playing out our virtue signalling, attempts to kind of ally ourselves with a fanatical Islamist regime. This is completely unacceptable. We're doing the same thing on home turf. What I'm completely, beyond belief is the fact that you won't find a single Green representative call out or condemn anything to do with Islamist extremism, either in this country or abroad. It's really extremely deeply concerning, whether it's Pakistani child rape, grooming gangs, right, for God's sake, right? Is it because they're Muslim that they can't be called out? Whether it's because we've got illegal migration, having been convicted of rape in this country, we've had Muslim being convicted in this country, illegal migrants. We won't call that out. So what is it about Muslims, right, that we can't call it as it is, which is disgraceful, despicable human rights abuses? Not all Muslims, of course. And does Mohsin Ali, as a self-professed Muslim politician, now I might describe on certain forms as a Muslim, but I don't actually parade that in politics. I think politics should be a secular space. But since he's going for Muslim votes, I think he's got even greater responsibility to actually inspect and call out where Islamist extremism is happening. Not doing the opposite of what he's doing yesterday. That was absolutely appalling to ally himself in that way.
Standing there with Islamist extremism, with the embodiment of it, with the Ayatollah standing under portraits, it's arguably, it's despicable, and it's so scary because this is the deputy leader of the Green Party. They've been around obviously for decades, but they're winning by-elections.
It's an appalling double standard because what we have here, I can't shake off the feeling that because we have political committee, when I was deputy leader, I was also chairing a political committee in the party. Not every piece of policy is actually already written out. You have to use your judgment about the political topics of the day. My fear is that they have calculated and miscalculated. I hope they've miscalculated the British public because they shouldn't be able to get away with it. They've calculated in order to continue relying upon the Muslim bloc vote, they mustn't upset them on this matter. But guess what? We do have, Iranian, I think you've probably heard already about the kind of dissidents who have actually flocked Iran, some of whom, feel unsafe and vulnerable in their own country. Now, why is that? So, the Green Party appears to have made a miscalculation that they can't do anything to criticise the Islam religion. This is an appalling position to take.
Well, also, do you think there's a schism coming? Because there was the Telegraph put out a piece the following day after the by-election win where they went into the areas that had voted predominantly for the Green Party, and they said to Muslim butchers and whatever, they were like, oh, by the way, what do you? So you just you just voted to legalise prostitution and to legalise drugs, and they're like, oh, we didn't read that far.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I was quoted in that article you speak of, and I noticed that it's like people had regret, buyer's regret, right? So the Green Party had been campaigning in parts of the constituency, but they weren't being open and transparent. And that diminishes the integrity of democratic politics. Whichever political party you're on, you should be able to win on your own terms, not just to say different things to different people because you think it's going to get you maximum vote share. That's an appalling way of doing politics. And the fact is,
hate.
Yes, and I mean, Hannah Spencer, she's a very good, candidate by all accounts, right? And, not in the usual brand. She's not sort of middle-class academic type, which is a good thing. But having said that, she was just reaching out to the Muslim community at all costs. And it was quite, very cynical, exploitative way of engaging in politics. And there is a problem we're increasingly facing in society where and it will happen in the Green Party as well, because out of those 200,000 odd members, you will find that a lot of people do not agree, with the Muslim conservative standpoint, whether it's on gay rights. They hate gays in many of the communities that we're talking about, on a whole raft of issues.
There's anti-Semitism as well, but unfortunately, a lot of the Green supporters are actually very much for that as well. Anyway, thank you very much, is the former Deputy Leader of the Green Party of England and Wales, Shahrar Ali. Thank you very much. Big round of applause. Next on Free Speech Nation, we'll be speaking to an Israeli comedian and mother about what the feeling is like on the ground. We have been trying to reach her, but of course, we have seen footage earlier of Israel under attack from ballistic missiles. So hopefully we'll be able to get hold of her. We'll also be having Charlie Peters with the latest updates. See you in a couple of minutes.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christie is here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. We're going to get the latest now from GB News reporter Charlie Peters.
Well, just let's go back to Tel Aviv, those live pictures there, because there have been ongoing interceptions by the Israeli Iron Dome system, intercepting a fresh round of airstrikes from Iran, both drones and missiles being intercepted. You're seeing footage captured earlier of a missile being intercepted by the Iron Dome system. We've seen other footage sent to us, verified here at GB News, of more interceptors being fired into the sky above Tel Aviv, where the sirens have been sounding for the last hour, and also into the northern port city of Haifa. Further interceptions have been reported, and people are sheltering in the city after a relatively quiet few hours for the last 36 hours since this conflict started. Now, the IDF said that they had identified missiles being launched from Iran, and this all comes amid recent reports of strikes in Erbil in Iraq, in Kurdistan, in northern Iraq. And footage we're showing you now is what's been sent to us of a reported ammunition depot on a US base in Erbil hit by a strike. We don't know who fired it. We don't know if it was possibly, well, I think it's likely one of the Iran-linked militias in Iraq. Could be Kataib Hezbollah. Now, this base has come under regular fire in recent years, ever since Qasem Soleimani was assassinated in a drone strike by the US President Donald Trump in 2020. This base has been a key target for retaliatory strikes by Iran and its proxies in the region. It was also coming under heavy fire after the October 7th attacks. Now, the significance of this more generally for the United Kingdom is that today RAF jets were deployed to intercept drones, shooting down a drone heading towards Qatar. We understand that British personnel in Iraq were hundreds of meters away from Iranian attacks that struck the ground there, successfully impacting. And they were also hundreds of meters away from the impact in Bahrain at that joint naval facility in Bahrain. So widespread risk to the forward deployed British personnel. And this comes as Israel is under fresh attack.
I'll ask you a question. As you say there, British personnel are under attack, have nearly killed. We have British personnel engaging with the Iranian artillery. Are we at war with Iran?
Well, we're certainly in a defensive posture, and that's the way it would be seen. I mean, in terms of declaring war, that would be another step taken by the Prime Minister. We're certainly now involved in the war, insofar as our assets are fighting against things being fired by the Iranian military. And while that is the overt and visible asset that we're seeing, there is no doubt that there is a widespread, broader British involvement in terms of intelligence collection and possibly also targeting support to other assets in the area. It's interesting to note, isn't it, that the evacuation of our embassy in Iran came just under 24 hours before these strikes started. So clearly a very high level of British understanding and also this defensive posture in the area as well.
All right, well, thank you very much, Charlie. That is the end of the first hour of Free Speech Nation. Don't go away. There's a lot more to come between now and 9 o'clock, including how events over in Iran are affecting us here in the UK. See you in a few minutes.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into next week, we have high pressure building. We'll see a mix of cloud and also some sunshine, but it's certainly going to be feeling more like spring, particularly if you compare it to the weather we've had today. And the reason for the unsettled spell to end the weekend, it's all thanks to low pressure, swinging in some wind and rain, and that does mean quite an unsettled end to the day, particularly across Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England. We have some very brisk winds moving through this evening up along the Irish Sea, a risk of coastal gales here. But to the south of any rain, it should remain mostly dry. Once again, a mix of cloud, also some clearer skies, but with the added breeze, this should hold temperatures up, so largely frost-free as we head our way into Monday. For the beginning of the new week, though, quite a wet start across Scotland. That's away from the far north. A few more clearer skies here, but a few showers skipping through at times. Largely wet across much of Scotland. Still some quite brisk winds around western coasts. Most of the rain clearing Northern Ireland, so turning a little bit brighter through the morning here. And then we do have this front draped across western areas of the UK, and it's fairly slow moving, so it'll try to edge its way eastwards at times. But it does mean that for most across southern Scotland, northern England, parts of Wales, and parts of Cornwall as well, it's probably going to be quite a wet Monday on offer. But to the south of this, largely dry, plenty of clear skies, so lots of sunshine to go around, and some warmer temperatures too, so feeling more like spring, particularly across the southeast. Some brighter spells too across Northern Ireland, western Scotland, though we can't rule out some showers here at times into the afternoon. Now, clear skies overnight means we could see some frost across Scotland, Northern Ireland to start, but many areas should see a bright start to the day. A few showers perhaps lingering around coasts of Wales. We do have this band of cloud, and at times this will bring in some drizzle across parts of East Anglia, southern parts of England later on into the day. But for most, it should be a dry day with some sunshine, and that theme continues into next week, along with the warmer temperatures. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. This is a special Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight, a monumental 24 hours in global politics. Israel and the United States launch attacks on Iran, deposing the Ayatollah, and in the last few minutes, confirmation of Mojtaba Khamenei, the second eldest child of Ali Khamenei, eliminated in attack alongside his father. But here in the UK, right outside Parliament in Westminster, hundreds gathered for a Stop the War demonstration to condemn the bombing of Tehran and other Iranian targets. We'll also be crossing to Israel to get a sense of the situation on the ground and how Israelis are reacting. But first, we're going to have the news with Bethany Elsie.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 8 o'clock. Joint military action by the US and Israel against Iran has continued today, with Donald Trump saying that operations are ahead of schedule. The US president says 48 Iranian leaders have been killed, 9 naval ships sunk, and stealth bombers have targeted dozens of underground missile sites. Israel's defense force says it's dropped over 2,000 bombs on Iran, and it's preparing to deploy around 100,000 reservists. Meanwhile, the British Ministry of Defence says an RAF jet has taken out an Iranian drone headed towards Qatari territory. 3 US service members have been killed since Operation Epic Fury began, and 5 others seriously injured. Meanwhile, the Red Crescent reports more than 200 dead in Iran. President Donald Trump says the new Iranian leaders want to talk and that he's agreed to do so. But Iran has retaliated with a barrage of attacks across the Middle East, including a fresh wave of missiles over Israel this evening. Those pictures there were from Tel Aviv, but elsewhere in Israel, an Iranian strike has killed at least 9 people and injured dozens more in the city of Beit Shemesh. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard claims to have hit 3 US and UK oil tankers in the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. It's understood the UK Foreign Office is supporting hundreds of thousands of British nationals in the Gulf, and they're working on plans for potential evacuations. More than 76,000 people, mostly in the UAE, have registered their presence. In other news, the FBI are investigating a deadly shooting in Austin, Texas, as a potential act of terrorism. 3 people have been killed and 14 injured, with 3 in a critical condition. Officers say the gunman opened fire out of his car window into a bar on a busy high street. He was later shot dead by police. And the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has set out proposals to amend the voting system. It's after his party came second in the recent by-election in Gorton and Denton. He says Reform would remove voting rights from Commonwealth citizens and place significant restrictions on postal voting. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 9 p.m.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Welcome to a very special edition of Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Breaking in the last hour, sirens are sounding across central Israel, including Tel Aviv, after Iran launched another wave of missiles, with unconfirmed reports suggesting buildings in the city have been hit by Iranian ballistic missiles. It's been over 30 hours now since the US and Israel launched their joint strikes against the Iranian regime, which has resulted in the death of the Ayatollah and dozens of other senior officials. And breaking in the last hour, Iranian media has claimed that Mojtaby Khamenei, the son of deceased Ayatollah Khamenei, was killed with his father in yesterday's Israeli strike. After the supreme leader's death was confirmed, Mojtaby Khamenei was seen as a possible and likely successor to his father. We are still waiting independent verification of those claims. Iran has unleashed a wave of missile and drone attacks across the region, striking American allies and US military targets in Dubai, Doha, Manami and Kuwait City. Earlier today, 3 US service members were confirmed killed and 5 seriously wounded as part of Trump's military action against Iran. US Central Command said in their first confirmation of American casualties. It comes as President Donald Trump has claimed US forces have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval vessels, including what he described as several large and significant ships. Last night, scenes of jubilation filled the streets of Tehran after an end to the reign of the man who has ruled Iran with an iron fist for decades. Joining me now are Iranian activist Nihat Ghobani and Iranian British human rights activist Lily Mu. Welcome to the show again. We saw there, Nihat, people are dying. People have put their lives on the line for the freedom of the Iranian people. There has also been incredible joy and celebration with the death of the Ayatollah. Now, I'm just going to give you a little hug, because we've done lots of hugs today. And this is a serious time, but this is a moment of celebration for over 90 million Iranians who are on the threshold of freedom, so close. What's it like to be so close to the freedom of your country?
For myself, actually, after 12 years, I'm looking at, future. I'm really close to be able, again, go back to my homeland, to my home, seeing my friends, my family. I hope they stay alive. But, my sister yesterday, after 4 years, which is I don't have a connection with my family because of their own safety, she called me and said, finally, she was super happy. And she said, finally, Trump kept his word and we are happy now. Anything happened to us, no worries, we are happy, and just be safe in UK. For me, for myself, and lots of people inside Iran, for us, it's really, really very nice and amazing time to looking forward what's going to be happen. The Iranian people inside Iran, all over countries, they chanting a Crown Prince's name and they trust him. They saying, we trust him, till the Ayatollah's fall and Islamic Republic fall. And then going for election,
That's the dream, democracy in Iran and peace. Lily Mu, how close do you think we are to this regime falling? We're still seeing them. They're still sending missiles out across the region. It looks like there's already another replacement for Ayatollah. At some point, they're going to run out of Ayatollahs, aren't they?
Well, one thing I actually need to let everyone know is that Ayatollah is a made-up thing by these guys in Iran anyway. The Arab world doesn't, which is the real Muslim world, they don't actually accept the term Ayatollah. It's like, it means like the one who rules the people of God. And they're like, who are you? So this Ayatollah and the other so-called Ayatollah wannabe, his son, Mojtaba, they didn't make it, which is great. And Iranians, they I have a message for a bunch of people who came outside the parliament yesterday and they held the Ayatollah's picture. And even though it was shown that the Ayatollah has already been gone, I mean, the Beit Rahbari was already
not according to the BBC and to Sky. He was alive for many hours.
Indeed.
Afterwards.
So they were hoping maybe at least if there is still time for him to write a will and perhaps have a predecessor. And Iranians in Iran, they say out loud, there's a chant that says, Mujtaba bemiri rahbari ro nabini. What it means is, Mujtaba, you will die and you will never see the throne of the supreme leader's throne. And
because I don't think people, obviously we don't know that
happened.
much about Iranian politics, local politics, but my understanding is that he was potentially more ruthless than his father, that he would have been an even greater threat to freedom in Iran, would have closed it down further. And if he had managed to achieve power, then this could have maintained the system. The regime would have gone.
He could have tried. He would have tried to make Iran into another Middle Eastern North Korea, and I mean his father tried, but. He didn't exactly manage. We still had internet. We still had our international students coming and going here. There was still little holes to get in and out of for Iran, because one thing you have to know is that the Islamic Republic banned travel for Iranians outside. And if you were privileged enough to have the resources to manage to take a tourist flight out of Iran, the furthest you're supposed to really go is probably Turkey, and that's a next door country and it's a Muslim country. Or if their own supporters get to have the privilege of going to Hajj, the Umrah. Other than that, it's only the regime supporters would have easily had access to come out, or those who would have to put all of their assets at the hands and the will of the regime just to come out for a week to have a little holiday and then go back to prison. So that's the reality of a nation being held hostage. So what Khamenei did was already like North Korea. What his son wanted to do was even worse. And in that respect, Iranians wouldn't just say death to Mujtaba, they would express the true wish in a vivid statement that just belittles him and says, Mujtaba bemiri rahbari ro nabini. It's like, Mujtaba, go and die, in that kind of tone. And wishing people death is not a Persian identity. Iranian people are Persians. Persians believe in kindness and Zoroastrianism rule and messaging. The wish to have somebody not be there anymore at the extent of death, this is the message of the Ayatollahs. This was the message that they brought into Iran, and this was what they got back in return. And away from that, once Iranians made their message to the Ayatollah and their ears whose sort of understanding of life is only through death was cleared and out, all they say after that is Javid Shah. And Javid Shah means eternal be the king. They are celebrating life. They are calling out for life. They are not willing to call out for death anymore, even though those who push them to say death are still alive. Yeah. We want to judge them. We want to take them to court. And yes, there is upheaval in the Middle East at the moment, but it's necessary, because if this regime would have stayed in power, not only the Iranians who were massacred would have been all in vain over the past 2 months alone, the 47 years aside.
Nuclear weapons, of course.
The nuclear weapons, the behavior of the regime right now, as they are cornered there, it's as if somebody dropped a matchbox in a firecracker, a lit match in a firecracker box. Their missiles are being thrown into all the surrounding cities of the Persian Gulf, like the southern sides of Iran, all the countries in the most unexpected way.
Civilian populations, and it should be said that all the targets so far in Iran have been for military targets.
Absolutely. You mentioned civilian population. What this regime does, just like what they did and they have taught Hamas, they use civilians in order to prolong their longevity. At the worst time of war and at the worst time of attack, they even gather civilians and bring them in places that could be targeted. Right now, as the regime knows and is aware of the fact that IRGC bases and artilleries are likely to be hit and destroyed by the American military forces or the IDF, they have brought in the political prisoners out of the prisons. And when I say political prisoners, they're also children. Everybody who was arrested in the past 2 months is a political prisoner. All the tens of thousands of people who've been arrested over the past few years are political prisoners.
And they haven't returned the bodies of the people that they murdered.
Yes.
Ready to bring out, to claim that they were victims.
That's another thing I was going to say.
This is the kind of evil that we're dealing with.
They repurpose those who they have taken from us. They repurpose the bodies of those who could not pay for the bullet that killed their children. This is the atrocity that is currently taking place in Iran. The rescue mission that is currently unfolding in Iran is going to stop that kind of atrocity reaching here.
Well, that's what you said now. That's a fantastic way of phrasing it. And I think that we need to use that expression more with the British politicians now, because this is a rescue mission. And Limu, she mentioned Hamas there. People may recognise you because you have spent 2 years now being arrested in the UK by the British police for holding up placards saying Hamas are terrorists. Yet you're the one who's been arrested for stating a fact.
Yeah, and yesterday also I was in Parliament Square. I'm just asking people, you are protesting for protecting my country and my people. But they start attacking me because I'm just saying, you are chanting Khamenei, make us proud? How? How you actually...
How do we have British citizens chanting
100,000 people held at gunpoint and killed in the space of 48 hours.
And we have people in the UK, British citizens...
They want to be more proud than that.
Who are actually defending that, standing up for that, and then hiding behind euphemisms like stop the war.
I'm happy, actually, Khamenei make them proud, which is...
Well, they reveal themselves, don't they?
He died. Now they have a martyr to be proud of. Oh.
He died like a rat, actually, and make them really proud, and I'm happy.
They love rats in homes. Die.
Exactly. But more than 2 years, I'm,
But what motivated you? Because you obviously see something here in the UK that connected. You're not Jewish, you're not Israeli. Yet your reaction was 2 years ago, you saw the pro-Palestinians marching in the streets, and you recognised that they were the enemy of Western democracy, right?
I think this is the first time I can explain what motivates me.
Because you get death threats, you've been physically assaulted?
Exactly. What the reason I'm always keep doing these things, the main reason it's UK and British people, 2000 to end of 2021, let me have a life in UK. This is a price back to the British people, even doesn't see the threat of their country. We have real great, actually we are great, what we're saying, example, really hard example of this type of power. When the Islamists coming to power, what they will done to your country. We saw that 1979. I born 1986, but we see the history about Iran and what happened to our country
with Islamists taking control.
Exactly. This is exactly going to be happen in UK when people doesn't recognize how Islamist, danger for your society. I'm, as an Iranian dissident here in UK, I think this is my price back to the nation who welcoming me to fight behalf of them, fight behalf of good people who doesn't actually feel this type of danger to fight. And
absolutely. Well, you've done an unbelievable job, and you've inspired many other people, including myself, and woken up many people to the threat, because we do not want to happen to the UK what happened to your beautiful country that I can't wait to visit. I've been offered many people say, come and stay, and I
exactly. I invite all the British people to come to Tehran and enjoy, the freedom after the Islamic Republic. But in my last word, I have to say, the British people have us. British people. I'm talking about the British.
Not the government, the people.
Yeah, not the government, because the government are so naive. They are not really strong.
I think it's worse than that. I think they know what's going on, and I think they're too cowardly to deal with it.
Yeah.
I think that's a more truthful reality.
Exactly. And we want to, fight behalf of them, and we want to, as much as possible, show the true face of Islamists, the terrorist Islamists who doesn't like this country, and even lefty British, unfortunately, lefty British who doesn't even like the flag of this country.
The freedoms that this country provide, absolutely. Well,
shameful.
Thank you very much. A huge round of applause, please, for our two wonderful and brave freedom fighters, Nihat Ghorbani and Lily Mu. So, next on Free Speech Nation, with the Middle East on edge, more attention has been turned back here to the UK and the dominance of religious sectarianism within British politics. Journalist David Shipley joins me next. You do not want to miss it. See you in 2 minutes.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
This is Ellie, and this is a
safari.
These are the decent ones. This is amazing. Tell us about this.
Right, so this was the best part of the honeymoon. This is my favourite part. We're in Kenya, in the Masai Mara. That's the camp there. So it's immersed right in the middle of the
That's
savannah.
a giraffe, I know that one.
That's a big giraffe, yeah. And we saw the big five, and it was amazing. Oh, and we went to see a Masai Mara tribe, and this was me with the tribe, and they did a big dance for us, and they were jumping up and down, and it was amazing. And we took pencils and colouring. Oh, that's my husband there. That's Jared. And we took colouring books for the kids, and we took crayons, and they loved it.
Oh, that
we had
was
the best
nice.
time.
That was nice
yeah, and then that's an elephant. Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And the best animal we saw, which I don't think we got a picture of, is a leopard, and we got so close to the leopard.
Camouflage.
We were
was good
eye
there.
to eye. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Was it a bit scary?
It wasn't at all. It was very peaceful. Yeah, you're in an open van, but they're not threatened by the van or by you at all. It's very strange. And we didn't see the daddy lion until the last day. And Eamon was messaging me every day saying, "Have you seen the daddy lion yet?
Yeah.
You still haven't seen him."
Who's the daddy? Who's the daddy?
And eventually we did, and they are majestic, the lions.
Very good. Right.
I recommend to anybody who likes their animals.
Alice, she's brought in all these pictures, and we brought in. We sat here with popcorn, ready to watch. We'll have to have a show of all this and watch all of this. But anyway,
get those snacks ready.
When can we open these then?
Well, I've still got to show you what other pictures I've got to show you.
If there's demand for it, but there's no demand. People aren't interested.
Then I'll just take this away.
Then we'll just take them home.
Take it to go.
But that was Ellie's honeymoon, which she delayed for 7 months or so, and then
took some planning.
Welcome back to
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. With the Middle East on edge, more attention has been turned back here to the UK and the dominance of religious sectarianism within British politics. But we have some breaking news before we get to a very fascinating interview. We have Charlie Peters with something that will impact all of us. Charlie, tell us.
Yes, Josh, we've got an update here because leaders of Germany, Britain and France have issued a joint statement tonight condemning the indiscriminate and disproportionate missile attacks launched by Iran against countries in the region. The statement goes on to call on Iran to stop those attacks. Leaders also said they would take steps to defend their interests, noting that they were considering necessary and proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at their source. That's the second statement, joint statement by these three leaders in as many days. But, Josh, the significance of this, we have the leaders of Germany, Britain and France suggesting now in a joint statement that they could strike Iranian military assets at their source to prevent the need to continue to intercept them in the air. We have seen the RAF deployed in Qatar, flying out of the Al Udeid base, an American air base, and also assets out of RAF Akrotiri in the sovereign base area in Cyprus, intervening to shoot down drones and cruise missiles. They're unable to shoot down the fast-moving ballistic missiles. So this is the leaders of France, Britain and Germany, Josh, hinting at being able and considering to deploy military force against Iranian assets within the country. That would be a significant military step from those countries to take. It's worth noting that French assets came under attack earlier today. There are reports now that the French is moving an aircraft carrier towards the region. It's likely now to be part of that gesture that we've just heard from that statement. And Germany has been stern in its support for Israel and the United States since the start of this military operation yesterday, and is currently housing some Israeli planes that left the country yesterday. But those three countries, Germany, Britain and France, condemning the Iranian attacks, but also saying that they are considering necessary and proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at their source.
OK, well, after 48 hours, I'm so glad that our British government is considering that. Thank you, Charlie. Fantastic news. Hopefully, we are going to be heading towards freedom for the Iranian people. But let's talk about the impact of sectarianism within the UK and British politics, whether it's allegedly family voting in the Gorton and Denton by-election or the government's move to create Islamophobia. And there was a case this week where we very, very closely had blasphemy laws in the UK. To discuss this, I'm joined by the journalist David Shipley. David, welcome to the show. David, we've covered this case of a man burning the Quran in front of the Turkish embassy. He was physically assaulted by multiple men, and he was the one who the CPS decided to try to prosecute. This week, I understand they went back to court because they insisted that he should be prosecuted for burning the Quran. That's terrifying coming from our justice system, isn't it?
It is, and I think it might be helpful to recap all of this. About a year ago, Hamit Koskan burned this Quran as an act of protest outside the Turkish consulate.
He's a full Muslim.
Yeah.
Didn't like Islam. It's an ideology.
Like
He's allowed to do that.
And we've talked about this before. And since then, the Crown Prosecution Service have been insisting they are not trying to create an Islamic blasphemy code. But if you look at what they have done at each stage, that would have been the impact had they succeeded. So initially they prosecuted Hamit for an offence which the CPS invented. They prosecuted him for offending the religious institution of Islam.
And offending an ideology,
which is
a set of ideas.
Does it? So public order law in this country says you can only be prosecuted for actually hurting a person, not for hurting a set of ideas, which is right. So they did that initially. There was lots of media attention, and they backed down and said, oh, that was a mistake, sorry. We're actually going to prosecute him in this way. He was found guilty. He won his first appeal. And then, astonishingly, the CPS, for a very minor offence, really, went back to the High Court to appeal this. And they said in their filings they were doing this because they wanted the ability to prosecute people for desecrating religious symbols, as they put it. And they talked about how Quran burning was terrible because it had caused protests around the world. The violence of the people who attacked him showed how bad what he'd done was.
Have they prosecuted anybody for burning a Bible?
I'm not aware of any prosecutions of burning Bibles. No, and I think if you build a model where you say the violent reaction of a religion's adherents justifies prosecution, then you will, of course, drive more prosecutions towards those religions where people react with violence. Most Christians don't react with violence if someone burns a Bible. So we came back to the court, and what was astonishing in their appeal is that had they succeeded, we would have had an Islamic blasphemy code. So they argued in court that essentially any occasion where someone burns a Quran in public in London would inherently be criminal, and that the original court had been wrong to say it wasn't criminal as a matter of law. So if they'd succeeded, that would have created a binding precedent on all the magistrates' courts, all the Crown courts in the country, such that anyone who burned a Quran in public would have committed an offence.
Well, potentially also, not just burning a Quran, because if it becomes about the in this case, a physical, violent reaction to what they saw as a blasphemy, an act of blasphemy, then if someone drew a picture of the Prophet Muhammad,
for example,
and
yes,
someone then tried to stab then they could use surely the same legislation to put that person.
Well, yeah. So the Crown Prosecution Service argued in the appeal that the fact that Hamet did this in public, outside a consulate, actually made it worse. What we might all see as an act of protest, obviously a political
protest. And I'm not
protest.
advocating for burning books. I don't think that's a good idea. But we live in we live in a liberal democracy. That's the point. We're meant to have the right, and we certainly are meant to be living in a country where we don't have blasphemy laws. So why is our justice system, the CPS, seeking to create a blasphemy law? Why are they going back to court over and over again to prosecute this man?
And spending a huge amount of time and money. I think these are the important questions. They have now accepted they will not appeal to the Supreme Court, so it is done. I think what we need to do now is we need to establish who approved this, who signed it off, who was driving this. And we need that information disclosed so we can actually understand why the CPS has tried to do this very sinister thing.
Absolutely. I mean, do you think there's any chance of that happening, of there being any level of accountability with this? Are politicians serious? There are some who I know who can see the seriousness of the actions of the CPS here. But is there really any kind of Home Affairs Committee, anybody actively looking into this?
I don't think there is a collective effort yet to really go into this, but we need one. And I would encourage politicians and, people more generally who might be able to shed light on this to start doing something about this, because it is dangerous.
It is dangerous. We've seen other activities going on this week within the UK. Obviously, we saw the by-election. We saw this kind of block voting. Is that the new normal, do you think, for the UK? When you have something like that combined, is this just trying to appease that community, do you think? Is that what the CPS are doing?
It's certainly possible. I think, actually, to draw it all together, if you look at Keir Starmer's speech when the offensive on Iran began, he came out and he was very determined to say that we're not involved. And I think, in reality, that's very much about placating particular communities, particularly Muslim communities within this country, and to try and sort of keep the lid on any potential unrest.
Because they were desperate to vote for him in the first place.
Well, quite. But even so, we've seen the Green Party very quickly. You saw key figures from them, including Mothin Ali, out protesting in favour of the Iranian regime. This is a regime which even the Palestinian Authority is condemning at the moment. All the Gulf states are. Actually, there's very few places on earth where people are protesting in favour of this horrific regime. Pakistan and here.
Wow, lucky us.
But I think part of this is fundamentally because the policy we have followed around migration and multiculturalism over decades has created deeply insular enclaves of different communities, lots of them sort of Muslim communities, Mapuri Pakistanis, for example, who don't really interact broadly with the rest of the country and are very much focused on political goals which aren't aligned with those of a liberal democracy or of Britain more generally. And yeah, so you're going to see them having more and more influence. Fundamentally, Labour have lost that seat last week because they've lost the Muslim vote. And now they're in a position where they either tack to try and retain the Muslim vote. You know, we saw them recognise Gaza recently. You know, so I think
a place without borders.
Well, quite, yes, indeed. So they will be tempted, I think, to do more of that, and that's what you're going to see, more desire to placate.
So you think it's sort of a race to the bottom almost from different political parties who might, as you say, see this as a way of winning elections by appeasing this kind of bloc voting?
I think fundamentally, once you have ingrained multiculturalism with different ethnic cultural groups that have distinct interests, politicians want to get elected. They will target their policy. And you see in the Greens, who've moved a long way away from environmentalism now, they seem to be focused on, you know, a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of policies specifically designed to appeal to Muslim communities, and also a set of policies which seem designed to appeal to young professionals, young recent graduates, let's say, who, you know, with sort of the drugs and all this sort of stuff, and they are being very targeted about winning those votes.
Yeah, and do you think that there's going to be some reckoning here? Do you think that that one side, we talked about this earlier, but where you had... Oh, very well, OK. We're going to move on because we have more breaking news, we have more to fit in, but thank you very much for joining us, David Shipley, on what this means for the UK. Next on Free Speech Nation, we're going to hear more on the military strategy and power of the ongoing strikes across the Middle East with an experienced Navy officer. See you in a few minutes. This is GB.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. It remains fairly unsettled across western parts of Europe, the risk of rain at times, but further east, some pleasant spells of sunshine. So for Monday, a weather front giving cloud and outbreaks of rain across Madeira into western parts of Portugal, showers for Spain across into the Alps as well, but further east towards Greece and Turkey, it's dry with some pleasant spells of sunshine and generally light winds, and it remains very similar over the next few days. Plenty of sunshine to come.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into next week, we have high pressure building. We'll see a mix of cloud and also some sunshine, but it's certainly going to be feeling more like spring, particularly if you compare it to the weather we've had today. And the reason for the unsettled spell to end the weekend, it's all thanks to low pressure, swinging in some wind and rain, and that does mean quite an unsettled end to the day, particularly across Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England. We have some very brisk winds moving through this evening up along the Irish Sea, a risk of coastal gales here. But to the south of any rain, it should remain mostly dry. Once again, a mix of cloud, also some clearer skies, but with the added breeze, this should hold temperatures up, so largely frost-free as we head our way into Monday. For the beginning of the new week, though, quite a wet start across Scotland. That's away from the far north. A few more clearer skies here, but a few showers skipping through at times. Largely wet across much of Scotland. Still some quite brisk winds around western coasts. Most of the rain clearing Northern Ireland, so turning a little bit brighter through the morning here. And then we do have this front draped across western areas of the UK, and it's fairly slow moving, so it'll try to edge its way eastwards at times, but it does mean that for most across southern Scotland, northern England, parts of Wales and parts of Cornwall as well, it's probably going to be quite a wet Monday on offer. But to the south of this, largely dry, plenty of clear skies, so lots of sunshine to go around, and some warmer temperatures too, so feeling more like spring, particularly across the southeast. Some brighter spells too across Northern Ireland, western Scotland, though we can't rule out some showers here at times into the afternoon. Now, clear skies overnight means we could see some frost across Scotland, Northern Ireland to start, but many areas should see a bright start to the day. A few showers perhaps lingering around coasts of Wales. We do have this band of cloud, and at times this will bring in some drizzle across parts of East Anglia, southern parts of England later on into the day. But for most, it should be a dry day with some sunshine, and that theme continues into next week, along with the warmer temperatures. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Sirens are sounding across central Israel, including Tel Aviv, after Iran launched another wave of missiles, with unconfirmed reports suggesting buildings in the city have been hit by Iranian ballistic missiles. It's been over 30 hours now since the US and Israel launched their joint strikes against the Iranian regime, which has resulted in the death of the Ayatollah and dozens of other senior officials. We're joined now by the former Royal Navy officer, Admiral Chris Parry. Welcome to the show, Admiral. What do you make of what you've seen so far strategically? Has this been the way that you yourself would have chosen to fight this war?
Well, I think had I chosen to fight the war, I would have incorporated probably more instruments of power than just the military, to tell you the truth. Iran is heavily dependent on its energy exports to China and all sorts of other connections with its neighbouring and allied countries. And so I would have put more pressure on the economic levers if I were going to do this. But it's quite clear.
So you don't think that they would necessarily have needed to go to war in the first place? Or arguably that the Americans certainly have been trying that for decades now, really, though. It doesn't seem to have worked.
No, what you need in these circumstances is what I would call a comprehensive approach, whereby you combine diplomatic, economic, and military means. And the military means have to dovetail with all the other means and have to be synchronized with them to achieve the result you want. I'm struggling at the moment to see what Israel and the United States is trying to achieve in terms of an aim. I think that what they're trying to do is decapitate the regime and also take down the forces of repression that are keeping the Iranian people down. Because I think in the end, the only thing that will work in Iran is if the Iranian people obviously rise up again. They've tried that once and obviously paid the penalty, but also so that the armed forces of Iran turn on the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and indeed the internal repression that the Ministry of Intelligence operate. So I think that probably is what the American and Israeli strategy is: decapitate the regime, take out the forces of repression, and encourage the armed forces and the people to turn on the regime that has treated them so badly. It could work. It's a question of how long it's going to take to work.
Yeah, people, I think, want to compare this to Iraq, but there's no mention really of boots on the ground. This is a very different situation. What do you think about the very recent announcement from the UK, from France, from Germany, that now they and we will be striking into Iranian territory? Do you think that will make a difference?
Well, it certainly make a difference politically, because it shows that the coalition of the willing to get rid of this regime is increasing. I think the European nations are playing catch up, to tell you the truth. If they were going to get involved, they should have got involved earlier so they could be part of a coordinated plan. I think we've had some fairly shifty political speak over the last 36 hours from our own government. That's now coming into some sort of focus, I hope. How we're going to actually strike these missiles at source is something of a mystery to me. We obviously can use cruise missiles from our submarines. I'll be very surprised if we will allow our combat aircraft to go into Iranian airspace to deal with these missiles at source, as they say.
Why do you think that is?
Well,
Sorry,
I think we don't have, unless we're under an umbrella of the American-Israeli suppression of air defences, our aircraft will be incredibly vulnerable to the existing surface-to-air missiles. Having said that, if the Americans and the Israelis achieve air supremacy over Iran, our aircraft will be able to range at will and deal with those sites. Some of them are mobile, of course, some of them are underground, so they're quite difficult to find. And we're seeing at the moment that the regime is determined to inflict as much damage as it can on Israel, and I think increasingly on other United States and Israeli allies in the region.
Yeah, but what you just said, it sounds frankly like a quite damning indictment of the state of the UK's equipment. If we don't have aeroplanes that can achieve the same as Israeli jets and American jets, then it sounds like we're very much behind the rest of the world.
Well, our armed forces at the moment are at a low point. There's no question about that. We've underinvested. But the key thing is it's the sort of tool bag you can bring to the fight. If you want to put your combat aircraft into harm's way, you have to suppress the enemy's sensors and also his missiles. If you don't do that, you're asking for trouble. I think we've all seen the film Top Gun 2. You see,
I sure have, many times.
Yeah, you've seen the challenge that's involved in that. That needs a whole panoply of suppressive surveillance and strike aircraft and other features as well. So you just can't go in on your own. So unless we achieve air supremacy over Iran, it'll be very dangerous for any aircraft to do that. But you're quite right. Our armed forces right now are at a low point. It's not just our Air Force, but our Navy and particularly our Army as well. I'm afraid is paying the price of overinvestment in Iraq and Afghanistan, a certain amount of strategic illiteracy by 20 years of politicians, and underinvestment in what is a very expensive game.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Admiral Chris. Next on Free Speech Nation, we'll be chatting to investigative journalist Ashley Reisberg on the best way to decipher through the disinformation in a time of war. This is very necessary watching for all of us. See you in 2 minutes.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So we're giving them artificial intelligence. What they need at this stage in their lives is real human connections. They need conversations, they need interactions, they need real world experiences. They need to develop their cognitive skills before they can even understand, and their verbal skills, before they can even understand the concept of virtual reality. What is this thing that we've created? And Dawn, you know how it is with ChatGPT. It's very empathetic. It's very supportive. It reinforces you. It doesn't disagree with you. It doesn't break up with you. It doesn't tell you you're wrong. So children and young people are not experiencing those kind of difficult situations. Is it any wonder they're depressed, they're lonely, they're anxious, and they're getting obese?
Lewis, to pass it over to you, is there a positive case to be made for artificial intelligence here? Maybe we look at our biggest competitors like America and China. Will we be putting our kids behind in the race for technology as AI is not going anywhere, is it? Let's be real.
100%. I mean, I think that, look, everything Emma says is right. No one's saying, right, let's get rid of teachers and human interaction and just give them a chatbot. It is just a tool. And if we ban it, we are missing a huge opportunity to really level up kids everywhere. We still have children unable to read and write leaving schools. AI could understand how people are actually learning. It could clock, actually, you know what, I'm not going to show you this as a text because you're a visual learner. I'm going to show you this as a video. Actually, I'm going to give you tailored homework based on the things you haven't actually taken in. It can support teachers and flag that there are issues that need to be looked at, that actually they're really struggling with this or that. There is such potential that we could actually tailor education to the individual child, then I think that we would be mad to give that up.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News. It's been an incredible 48 hours in news, but with breaking news now bringing it with it disinformation and in some cases fake news. So in the age of modern warfare, what is the best way to decipher through the disinformation and the misinformation? We are joined by investigative reporter Ashley Risborough. Ashley, welcome to the show. This is what you deal with. For the last few years, you have been examining various different social media, in particular Wikipedia, finding out where this misinformation, this disinformation comes from. With the fall of the Iranian public, how does that change the scope of social media and this misinformation and disinformation?
Hi, Josh. Yeah, I think at this point we are not looking at any significant downgrade in Iranian misinformation or propaganda. Probably the opposite. As they're fighting for their lives, this is still their most valuable weapon because they're outmatched and outgunned on the kinetic battlefield. But they're very much still active and well-equipped in the propaganda space. So I would be looking for an uptick in Iranian and Russian and all the other aligned countries' propaganda efforts on the major platforms right now.
What we saw in the UK, there was the news of this. If you cut out, are you still there? What I was going to ask him, hopefully we'll be. Oh yes, we're going to get him back. Is what we saw was this terrible news of a school that was bombed. We saw dead young women, and this was kind of reported. It came from the Iranian regime, and we saw on various different mainstream media platforms in the UK this instant kind of, they were voice of propaganda for the Iranian regime. So does it even really matter what's going on social media if we have mainstream media here just so willing to propagate whatever Iran says?
Social media is an alternative source for information and also for people to be able to go and dig a little bit and ask questions to other people in the space. You have to be careful no matter what the source is, because as you point out very correctly, whether it's coming from the BBC or some random social media account, the misinformation, the propaganda is everywhere. These are directed coordination efforts. They are not organic in most cases. You always need to ask the question. In the case of the BBC, the headline that we saw run yesterday about the school is that at least 153 are dead after reported strike on school, Iran says. And that doesn't really frame that headline or this event in terms of the fact that this is being provided by Iranian state media, which is often controlled and operated by the IRGC. Heavily invested.
Well, I just want to point out that, and it should be that turned out to be fake news, right?
I think in this particular case, we're still lost in the fog of war. We don't know what is the case here. There's no independent verification of the death toll or even that there was a strike, but the BBC and the rest of the media have presented it as definitively true. So at the moment, I don't know one way or the other what's going on, and nobody else does either. And but that's not the framing that the British public has gotten on this particular attack. They haven't gotten a message of, let's wait and see what happened, or this may have happened. What we have is that this did happen, and we actually don't know that that's true.
Well, I saw reports that this was actually a misfire of an Iranian missile and that the IRGC were themselves claiming responsibility. That could have been misinformation. So your advice to people is multiple sources, because I work for a news organisation. We want the truth to be out there, and we do it with our best intention. But the idea is stick on GB News and then just check X just to make sure.
Yes, but no matter where you are looking, always look at the source that the outlet is using to report this as a fact. In the case of the BBC, they're using Iranian state media. They're putting this sort of in a subtle way, but you need to read between the lines. You need to go and take agency for yourself to understand where this is actually coming from.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, investigative reporter Ashley Risbo. Thank you very much at home for joining us for a special Free Speech Nation. Stay tuned for the brilliant Alex Armstrong tonight. That is next. And thank you very much for watching the show. We're going to go to Alex Armstrong now, who's going to tell us what's coming up with him tonight.
Thank you so much, Josh. Great show. Listen, we're going to be bringing you that breaking news that Germany, France and the United Kingdom are now considering strikes on Iranian soil. They're saying we will take steps to defend our interests and those of our allies in the region, potentially through enabling necessary and proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at their source. That is their joint statement. I've got Charlie Peters with me all evening. He's going to be monitoring the movements of European troops and, of course, our militaries, and will bring in us updates as we have it. A huge evening ahead. See you in 2.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into next week, we have high pressure building. We'll see a mix of cloud and also some sunshine, but it's certainly going to be feeling more like spring, particularly if you compare it to the weather we've had today. And the reason for the unsettled spell to end the weekend, it's all thanks to low pressure, swinging in some wind and rain, and that does mean quite an unsettled end to the day, particularly across Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England. We have some very brisk winds moving through this evening up along the Irish Sea, a risk of coastal gales here. But to the south of any rain, it should remain mostly dry. Once again, a mix of cloud, also some clearer skies, but with the added breeze, this should hold temperatures up, so largely frost-free as we head our way into Monday. For the beginning of the new week, though, quite a wet start across Scotland. That's away from the far north. A few more clearer skies here, but a few showers skipping through at times. Largely wet across much of Scotland. Still some quite brisk winds around western coasts. Most of the rain clearing Northern Ireland, so turning a little bit brighter through the morning here. And then we do have this front draped across western areas of the UK, and it's fairly slow moving, so it'll try to edge its way eastwards at times, but it does mean that for most across southern Scotland, northern England, parts of Wales and parts of Cornwall as well, it's probably going to be quite a wet Monday on offer. But to the south of this, largely dry, plenty of clear skies, so lots of sunshine to go around and some warmer temperatures too, so feeling more like spring, particularly across the southeast. Some brighter spells too across Northern Ireland, western Scotland, though we can't rule out some showers here at times into the afternoon. Now, clear skies overnight means we could see some frost across Scotland, Northern Ireland to start, but many areas should see a bright start to the day. A few showers perhaps lingering around coasts of Wales. We do have this band of cloud, and at times this will bring in some drizzle across parts of East Anglia, southern parts of England later on into the day. But for most, it should be a dry day with some sunshine, and that theme continues into next week, along with the warmer temperatures. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benivan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.